In this video, I have some advanced tips for solving the first two centers on your 5x5. So I discussed this in the intermediate tutorial, but by far the biggest thing and most important thing with 5x5 centers is flexibility. So this is not only for the first two centers, but for all of the other centers. And flexibility means being able to respond and adapt in the moment depending on what sort of case you get and solve centers in different ways. And the main three types of solutions are solving a 1x3 bar and extending it on that, solving a 2x2 block and then extending that to a 2x3, and solving a T and extending that to a 2x3. And another one that I want to throw in there for now is the lightning bolt case, where we have a center, an edge center, and this 1x2 here, and we can extend that to a 2x3 block by adding in this block, like so. So those are the main different sorts of ways that you can make a 2x3 block. So then, when you're solving 5x5 centers, the most important skill is to be able to very quickly assess and then decide how you'll solve a 2x3 block on the center. You should also avoid being biased towards any of those particular strategies for solving the first 2x3 block of a center, and really just use the method that's most efficient for the case that you're given. And that comes with time and practice, but I'll show you some example solves later on, and where I'll decide between, solving it with a 2x2 or solving it with lines or using the T or the lightning bolt method, so that you can so that you can try and learn which is the most efficient method to use in certain different cases. As you become more and more advanced, you want to try and plan your entire first center in inspection, and if the first center is particularly easy, then you should also try and plan a couple of the pieces, or try and see how you can influence the pieces of your second center. Now, you can try solving the first center blindfolded as a drill. I'm not sure that this is completely necessary. The main part is figuring out firstly how the moves that you'll be required to do to solve the first 2x3 block, and then figure out where the pieces of the last 1x3 will end up in kind of an average case. Also, when you're planning out your first center, try and choose a first center which is really good and easy to finger trick. So some centers might have more pieces solved, but the actual solutions are a little bit more challenging, or it's harder to figure out good finger tricks for those solutions. So for example here, on this yellow side, I've only got these two solved, but I have this block and these two pieces which I can easily insert, and this will be a really quick kind of 2x3 block. We'll just be going U, R, U, Y, D prime, R, like that. So that 2x3 was 5 moves, and so before you execute those 5 moves, you should also have figured out where the last 3 pieces of your first center will be. So here we've got these two and these two. So what I would do is kind of rotate, pair these two up, and also we want to end with the first center on the bottom so that it's easier to look ahead into our second center, because we definitely don't want to go into our second center blind. Also, if we have visibility of the second center as we're pairing up the last 1x3 of our first center, then this allows us to try and influence the number of solved pieces on the second center. So here, for example, I want to solve these 3. And then if I bring this up directly like that, we have kind of the case isn't that great on the top here, and we can influence it to perhaps make it slightly better. So doing something like U prime and then L prime preserves this block, and also moves these two adjacent corner centers to the back here, which might be useful particularly if we have these two adjacent edge centers opposite one another. So we can do something like R prime U. I wouldn't do it exactly like that, but potentially we could do that and get these two blocks, and then work this edge up here, and then use these two blocks and this piece to solve the rest of the second center. So you shouldn't go too far out of your way to try and influence what's going to happen to this second center. It would only just be 1 or a maximum of 2 moves. So here we have this 1x3 block that we want to insert into our first center by just doing a wide R prime. And it's probably prudent to just have a quick look on the back and on the top to see what sort of cases we could end up with. So if we do the wide R prime like that, we end up with this P case, which is not a particularly nice case. However, if we just do a U prime before that, then that brings this 1x3 from the back to the top here. And we also noted that we have this edge center here, and we can create our 2x3 very easily, just like that. Another useful center trick to know is this fish case, and you might have picked it up along the way. It's not too hard to figure it out. Basically, if you have a 2x2 block there and the corners this corner center solved as well, you can easily just attach it to an edge by bringing it down, rotating the face, and building the 2x3 like that. When you're doing the second center, particularly after doing the 2x3 block, solving the last 1x3 of the second center on top can be a little bit troublesome if you don't have a solid understanding of where the pieces all are around the E-slice. So for cases like this, if I'm looking at this, I've got this fish case, and I'm going to insert this edge piece here, and I don't have any blue pieces on here, and I do have the 2 other blue ones there, then we need to use a little bit of deduction. And so obviously the last blue centerpiece, which will create the 1x3 block, is back here. And I don't need to check that because I can tell that by looking at the right face, there's no blues here. Looking at the left face, there's 2 blues here. So as soon as I insert this, I'm going to rotate this way straight away. So I don't even need to guess or try and rotate a random way. I know without even looking that the last blue centerpiece is on the back. So rotate that way, pair it up, and solve it like so. Another thing that's quite useful is using moves with 3 layers. So here we want to insert the last 1x2 into our second center, and we have these 2 here and this one here. Instead of doing a wide D prime, then rotating and inserting it, we can just do a wide 3U prime like that, which brings these 2 over here, and you can insert it like that. Another thing that's useful, sometimes you will find that it's actually preferable to solve the last 1x3 of the second center on the M slice around here. So when you do that, if it's convenient for you, you can just do, instead of rotating and inserting it like that, the last 1x3, you can do something like wide U, R2, wide U prime. So the wide U replaces it, R2, and then wide U prime. And then you won't have to do the double rotation and then back to having these centers on the M slice. One thing that you should also work on doing at the same time is when you're aligning the last 1x3, so we've got this blue one back here and these 2, you want to align, so solve the 1x3 on this face and also align this blue center so that it's here at the same time. So you don't want to do that in 2 steps. You don't want to do this and then look, inspect, okay, I need to do a U. You want to know that this one needs to come here and that this one is here so that after I do the wide U2 prime, I can do the U directly after that and then go ahead and solve it. So you don't want to be doing that in 2 steps. It should just be one look. The second center is often the hardest one to solve because you don't have inspection for it and all the pieces can still be around any of the middle layer centers or on the top. So I'm just going to do a couple of examples with my thought process. I'm going to start by keeping this 1x3 here so that we can try and influence, I guess, the second center. So what we would do if we have to do a wide L prime like that, what we can do with these and this one is actually make it into a T case. And when I'm doing that, I'm also looking at this left face. Okay, there's no yellows here. I'm going to check if something comes into the front face, and indeed this yellow corner piece came into the front face. And then if we turn to the right, so there's no yellow pieces here, there's only a corner center here, then we would rotate like that, and our last 3 yellow pieces are here. So there's 1 yellow piece here and 3 here, so I don't even need to look on this right face, and on the back face I know there was no yellow centers. I know by deduction that there's none on this face, so I can go ahead and solve these remaining centerpieces however we like, because we can all see them clearly. Okay, so here's another example. Let's say I've got this 1x3 which needs to go onto the bottom, and I'd have a quick look on the back. There's nothing here, so I don't need to worry about that, and there's nothing which I can influence here. This piece won't be affected by doing the wide R prime. And as I'm doing that, I'm looking here on this front face. I notice I've got this edge center and these 2 here, like that. And probably what I would do is actually insert this one to the top to create a 1x3. And I also noticed as I was doing that, I've got this 1x2 block on the left here and these 2 corner centers on the right here. So we can actually do an L, to make sure that when we do our D prime to pair up these ones with this one, that these 2 won't be affected and they'll stay on the L face here. So all of our remaining 6 centerpieces are on the left, front and right hand side, so that we won't even need to look at the back because we can deduce that there's no yellow centerpieces there. So then we would do a wide D prime and also the U prime at the same time so that we can go straight away and insert that. And then I would do an R prime and then a wide D2 to solve the 1x3 here. And I would need to do a U prime to move this 2x3 block over here. So I would do that at the same time and then insert that. and then do my rotation to keep doing my last 4 centers. Okay, I'll do one more example. Here's a slightly harder case, I suppose. So we need to do a wide L to finish off our first center, and there's not really anything that we can influence on the back and the top here. We've got this corner, so we'll just do the wide L, and yeah, we kind of have quite a bad case. What I would do, immediately I see these 2 edge centers here, so I can create a 2x2 block using these 2 and this one. It's a little bit inefficient, but what it means is that this center is now free of yellow pieces, so I can rotate over this way, and I know before I did that, I noticed there was this yellow corner here. So when I rotate this way, I'm checking out what's over here, and all the last 4 yellow center pieces are here. So I can do R, U, R prime, and then I don't even need to look at the back face because I remember that this yellow center was here, and to pair it up with these 2 just requires a B prime and then a wide U2. So again, I remember that this yellow center was here and it wasn't affected when I made this 2x3. So when I rotate it over here, I don't need to actually look at the back face. I can just do the B prime and then U2 straight away. And when I do the U2, obviously I want to realign this 2x3 into position. So I need to do a U2 and then U2 prime, then a U prime to leave this over here, and then insert the last 1x3 like that.